Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Cover Zero podcast, the show where I cover the least in the best way possible. I'm your host, Jason Wells, and I finally have a guest this week. It has been a long time. I guess it would have been pre-draft, pre my Europe trip. But we got Chu on the podcast, and of course, with Chu being on, it had to be the hot takes episode. Only fitting for a man who, I don't even know, talks. I don't want to say talks out of his ass too much, because that's a little too mean, but if you know Chu, you know his takes. You know he likes to get the boys riled up, so he's on for this week. Just ended that chat with him. It was good. There's some good hot takes coming up for everyone. But like always, we will start off with the NFL Weekly Update. And I said last episode where, please let there be news for this next episode. Like, there's been nothing to talk about. Literally, as soon as I uploaded the podcast last Tuesday, the news came out that former NFL quarterback Ryan Mallett has passed away at the age of 35. Obviously, super upsetting news. Tragic news. Like, still so young. Could be playing in the NFL today, if either way. So Ryan Mallett, drafted by the Patriots in 2011, had just a cannon of an arm. Was a backup for a while, moved around to the Texans, finished his career off with the Ravens. Just very, very sad story. Was swimming with his girlfriend, got caught in a rip current, and then drowned. It's very scary. And as someone who considers themselves a very good swimmer, obviously Ryan Mallett, a professional athlete, it can happen to anyone. Nature's fucking scary. Don't take it for granted. Ryan Mallett, you will be missed. Moving on, though, next note I have up, there are more gambling suspensions happening across the league. A few unnotable names got suspended for the year. The notable names, though, that got suspended are Titans right tackle Nicolas Petit-Frere, which is a weird last name, being little brother in French, but either way, Nicolas Petit-Frere is suspended for 6 games. So he didn't bet on the NFL games. He just bet at the team's facility, obviously against the rules. Gone for 6 games. So this is a Titans team whose offensive line is a lot of brand new pieces on it, a lot of young pieces on it. And NPF was, hopefully going to be starting on that right side of the line. Tough for the Titans, obviously, in a year where they need everything right to go their way to contend for the division. Not a great start. The other notable player to get suspended was Colts cornerback Isaiah Rodgers, who had a very good year, very low-key, underrated year last year for the Colts, was also the returner for a bit. He actually bet on NFL games, on his own NFL games. So he's suspended for the year. The Colts promptly cut him. And if you're wondering, what did he gamble on? So according to reports, most of his bets were in between $25 and $50. And then he had one outlier bet. It was what he bet on the NFL game that he was playing in. It was $1,000 on the rushing yards prop for Zach Moss. Can't tell if it was over or under, but he bet $1,000 on a rushing yards prop for his running back. He won the bet, so yay for him for winning an extra $1,000. Your NFL career is now done, you fucking moron. Simple things. Just don't gamble at team facilities. Easy rule. And especially, don't gamble on your own fucking league, let alone your own game. What a dumbass. Promising young career, kind of just thrown away for an extra $1,000 gambling. Yeah, just fucking stupid. Next note up, we have a broadcasting note. And I guess I'll mention that ESPN had a bunch of layoffs too. Guys like Todd McShay, Keyshawn Johnson, longtime sideline reporter Susie Colbert. They're all released, but this isn't the note. That was just something extra that I thought of at the top of my head, where maybe I should mention it, and I did. So, JJ Watt is one of the new analysts for CBS. I don't know if analyst is the right word. He's part of their halftime show broadcasting team. He won't be there full time. He's only coming in for big games, big moments. I think he's just retired. Let him enjoy his vacation, doing what he wants. He'll come in, he'll talk NFL when he needs to. I think this is an absolutely great role for JJ Watt. I think when JJ Watt came into the league, a lot of people saw him as corny, try hard, genuinely nice guy, but just corny at the end of the day. I think he knows that. I think that he realizes that he was a cornball to start his career, and I think that he is genuinely one of the funniest, nicest people this league has to offer. I think he will be absolutely great as an analyst, commenting on whatever games. I think this is a perfect role for him. I will be tuning into CBS broadcasts just to see JJ Watt talk football, because I love JJ Watt. Easy enough to say. Next note up, we have some positive news. Saints tight end, former Raiders tight end, Foster Moreau has announced that he is in full remission for his Hodgkin's lymphoma cancer. Absolutely great news. I have no idea what this means for him going into week 1. Great news for him, though, just personally. Football aside, absolutely incredible that he has that his battle with cancer seems to be in the rearview mirror. I think he will probably open as the Saints starting tight end. I really like Foster. I think he is a very underrated tight end. Can't wait to see what he does there. Way to go, Foster. That's incredible news. Next note up I have is Colin Kaepernick is still waiting for the NFL to call. He is 35. He hasn't played since 2016. Good for Kaepernick for keeping his name in the news. Apparently he can still throw 60 yards. Good for him. It's just not going to happen anymore. If he really wanted to play football, he'd be in the XFL, he'd be in the USFL, multiple other avenues to be playing football. He just wants to be back in the NFL. Simple as that. It won't happen. Just funny that that's even a noteworthy story that came across the Twitter timeline this week, but here he is. And we'll finish off the NFL Weekly Update with some contract news. Both guys signed by the Patriots. We'll start off with linebacker Ja'Whaun Bentley signing a 2-year, $18.75 million deal, $9 million guaranteed. A guy who's really come into his own the last few years. Kind of looked like out of place early on in his career. It looks like he's really finding his footing under this Belichick defense, as most people should. He's one of the best defensive play callers in the history of the NFL. I think this contract could come up looking like a bargain for the Patriots by the end of next year, but good for Ja'Whaun Bentley. Good payday. The other Patriot that got paid, Devontae Parker. Devontae Parker signed a 3-year, $33 million contract, 14 guaranteed. That's a lot of money to be paying a guy who I think he only got targeted 34 times last year, and most of those were interceptions. Not most of them, but 4 of them were interceptions. I love Devontae Parker for the fact that he was drafted as a Dolphin. He just couldn't stay healthy. He had his great moments, but he is still an excellent jump ball receiver. That is about all he is at that point. He cannot separate whatsoever. I think he's finished bottom 5 in separation the last 2 seasons as a wide receiver. The contract is mostly incentive based, so I guess that's the good thing. But that's just a lot of money to be paying Devontae Parker. Obviously, if it isn't, most of it is incentive based, it won't be that bad. And with these 2 moves, it does clear up some extra cap space for the Patriots that they didn't really need. I think it's just a matter of time before DeAndre Hopkins or Dalvin Cook is a Patriot. But until then, I don't know. Until then, who cares? But yeah, let's get into some NFL hot takes with Chew.
This meeting is being recorded.
Forgot how loud that was. Okay, hot takes time. It's been a while since I last had a guest on, but joining me today, hot takes guy himself. I feel like every NFL take he does have turns out to be a hot take. He'll definitely disagree with me, but Chew, welcome back. How you been doing?
It's easy to prepare for this one. I just wrote down all my takes that I had for the year, and they all qualify probably as hot takes. I hope.
God. I mean, yeah, you did say before we started recording that there aren't a lot of Patriots takes, which is good. I only have the one Dolphins, maybe one. I only have the one Dolphins one myself. Yeah, I mean, if you don't have any NFL talk before we get into this here, then I think we can just start.
No, yeah, I think we can get right into it. It might take a while.
Yeah, fuck.
I might have some comments on mine.
Oh, I'm sure I do. Okay, so I'll start her off though. Starting off at number 10. This is a question that I've asked a few buddies like over the course of the off season, but I would personally much rather have the best kicker in the NFL than the best running back. Take that whichever way you want. Give me Justin Tucker over Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, Jonathan Taylor. The list goes on. What do you think of that?
I dare you to tweet that.
I don't think I'm wrong. I think that's the complete right take, especially the way that running backs get paid now.
I think it's wrong. I think it's completely wrong. Yeah,
you're telling me
I disagree. Or sorry, I disagree with people who say like kickers aren't important. Kickers are obviously important, but they're only really important if you're a Super Bowl caliber team. If you're not a Super Bowl caliber team, like it's not the kicker's not the reason that you're failing. Let's say the Patriots had a shitty kicker throughout their entire dynasty, they probably would have lost a couple of those Super Bowls, right? So they're obviously really important. But let's say you're the Houston Texans. It doesn't matter if you have a good kicker on your team. If you have a good running back on your team, that's going to really help out your offense. Is basically how I would put it. But I think even when you're talking about Super Bowl caliber teams, if you ask the Niners who they'd rather have, McCaffrey or Justin Tucker, they'd obviously take McCaffrey. I think every great running back you get the same answer. They'd want to keep their running back.
I think it's tough though, because I think that we're in such a spot now in the league where it is so easy to find good running back talent. Not great, and that's the thing. This is the difference between a Derrick Henry and then like a Joe Mixon type thing. Yeah. But if you're telling me that I can get a kicker like Justin Tucker who will hit 90% of his kicks wherever on the field over a guy who, again, I won't get Derrick Henry level production out of him, but if I can get 1,200 yards, 1,300 yards instead of 1,800, I don't think the offense falters a little bit. I think that's a good one though. I think.
Yeah.
Let me ask
you this question. Do you think the Ravens would have been a better team last year with Christian McCaffrey on their team or Justin Tucker?
I don't think that's the question though.
I think if it's further career, if you
They have
want,
Justin Tucker. Like, I don't know. I just think it helps an offense so much to have a guy like that, like a number one running back in the league, Christian McCaffrey, like Adrian Peterson, rookie Zeke Elliott. Those guys
yeah.
change the offense. In my mind, when you
But
say number one running back, I'm thinking of the best running back in the league. But
you
it's a good
are,
argument.
I will
mean,
say, you are the first person to tell me that you would take the best running back. So, yeah, I've asked 5 different people.
I love my
They all
running
said,
backs,
give
though.
me the kicker.
I love my running
That's
backs.
fair. You do want 2 great ones there in New England, but
Yeah.
I will let you go. What's your number 10 hot take?
So my number 10 hot take is just because it's not. You can consider it a hot take because of what the media likes to put out, but to me, it's not a hot
Yeah.
take, and that's Mac Jones is going to have a better year this year than Trevor Lawrence will. And I think the media took what Trevor Lawrence was doing completely out of proportion because it was Trevor Lawrence and he was the number 1 overall pick. He wasn't playing that great. In the regular season, he had a lot of games where he was bad and the Jags had to win somehow through a fluke, through a fumble, through them getting lucky. And then they happened to go on this run where Trevor played great some games, but then some games he didn't, and then he got bailed out. He wasn't playing at this elite level that people like to talk about. When you talk about Trevor Lawrence, you think that he's some like Justin Herbert caliber quarterback, which I just don't see. I know he beat him in the playoffs, but he still threw 4 picks. And I mean, Brandon Staley's on the other sideline. It's easy to cook that.
It's going to be a long episode. Goddamn.
So I honestly just think that if you put Mac Jones's career and what he's done in 2 years and Trevor Lawrence beside it, it looks very, very similar. And I looked up the numbers because I was curious. And then I see Mac Jones has a better completion percentage. He's thrown less interceptions.
But the only reason why it's even comparable right now is because Urban Meyer was there the first year, and that was probably the worst.
No. Second worst after what Mac had last year.
No.
Would you rather Urban Meyer or Matt Patricia? I'd take Urban Meyer personally.
I would take Bill Belichick and then Matt Patricia as the offensive coordinator over Urban Meyer, who didn't even give a shit that he was coaching in the NFL. Like, that guy just didn't even care. He gave no effort the entire season. Either way, you're going to hate one of my fucking takes coming up because it does involve Trevor Lawrence. That is absolutely absurd, especially when you just look at the offenses that surround both those quarterbacks. Like, it's not even close.
Well, I mean, so on New England, you got Hopkins.
No, you don't.
Soon.
Maybe in a couple weeks, but not right now. No.
They've got a minus next to him on DraftKings right now, which is looking good.
God.
You got Hopkins, Juju, Parker. I mean, Calvin Ridley's good, but he hasn't played in 2 years. So we'll see.
I'll take Calvin Ridley, who hasn't played football in 2 years, over Juju Smith-Schuster immediately.
Would you take him over D-Hop?
I'll take Christian Kirk over Juju Smith-Schuster. Easy.
Would you take him over D-Hop?
No, I wouldn't take many guys over D-Hop.
Evan Ingram, huh?
Evan Ingram. I think Evan Ingram and Hunter Henry are comparable. 2 different roles, but
way better than that. I'd take the New England O-line. I'd take the New England running game.
Yeah, that's so that's your one Patriots one for the 10?
That's my one Patriots one. It's off.
Thank God. Mac Jones being better than Trevor Lawrence this year. Fucking hell would have frozen over if that happens. Okay, let's get back on track. This is one that we can both agree on. The Cardinals are going to pick first overall.
Oh, I actually have a hot take later with another team picking first overall, but I do think the Cardinals could easily pick first overall. I think when we look at it, Kyler isn't going to play the full year. There's no reason for him to even come back late on in the season and try to win games. That team's just bad. I could just drop my first overall hot take right after, and then we can talk about it.
Yeah, go for it, then.
Yeah, so I had the Bucks, actually. That's my hot take, is them picking first overall this year.
Again, don't disagree with that. Fuck, it was nuts. I was listening to the Around the NFL podcast, And they were, I don't know how they got, or they're talking about Mike Evans, and Mike Evans going for trying to break Jerry Rice's record for the most consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. And this is all, that's the thing. It's the worst QB situation that he's dealt with. And then here these guys are on the podcast being like, I don't know, the Bucs won the division last year. They could still be pretty good. They got a good defense and like good receivers. And I'm just like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? It's like they are bad. They have overall talent.
More talent than the Cardinals, for sure.
I don't know about that because I look at the Cardinals. I think it's Budda Baker, and I don't think that there's anyone else on that team that I'm really like. That's a good NFL player.
Saying they have more talent than the Cardinals. I don't think they're going to pick.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to pick first overall because they lack talent. I think they're going to pick first overall because they are horribly coached. Like it was ever since Bruce Arians left. Even when Bruce Arians was there, they were average to above average coach team. Now that Arians is gone, it was a total disaster. If Brady didn't have those like 4 miracle fourth quarter comebacks, I think they would have been 5-12. They went 8-9.
Yeah, like they were a very bad team. The defense was very bad last year too, and Todd Bowles was supposed. Yeah, I think those are the. Oh yeah, Tom Brady, Kyle Trask.
They're gonna be they're gonna be the worst team in the NFC. If not, it could be the Cardinals, it could be the Rams. I don't know.
Yeah, if I were to rank them, I think it would Cardinals and then Bucs close second. But yeah, I just like the Cardinals. Like, is Colt McCoy a better starter than Baker and Kyle Trask? Like,
maybe.
That's it's bad. The NFC fucking stinks. Okay, I'll move on to number 8 then, and I will just say that the Jets missed the playoffs. I think that's something that we both agree on. Yeah.
I had one of mine was the Jets suck.
Yeah. So I don't see what Aaron Rodgers did last year. Aaron Rodgers was a fine quarterback last year, obviously not up to his standards, but he was still a good NFL quarterback. I don't see the situation from Green Bay to New York that much of a difference. I think the big difference maker is Garrett Wilson, is that bona fide number 1 wide receiver. Other than that, I think the rosters are very comparable, and I don't think Rodgers has enough juice to really take that team to the playoffs compared to everyone else in the AFC.
Yeah, if you just look at the Jets' schedule, they play the AFC East a bunch early. Every single other AFC team already has their system put in place. They're going to be ready week 1. Bill O'Brien is the one exception. It's his first year there, but I think that offense should be pretty well implemented by week 1. And I just think it's going to take the Jets time. I don't think they're going to be a bad team late in the year. I think they'll be competitive late in the year. I just think they're not going to have enough wins in the first 9 to 10 games to be competitive in the AFC. And another thing that could happen is they're not competitive in the first 8 weeks. Rodgers throws a little temper tantrum, starts complaining to the media, says some things about retiring, and then it all just goes to shit. And I would love that if that happened. That would be
the ultimate like worst case scenario for the Jets. Yeah. And I mean, I think I'm pretty sure that Rodgers is owed $100 million next year with the way that they restructured his contract, which don't think he's walking away from that. I have no idea how the restructure and how that money works. He's gonna
start talking about how he's got to go back to the cave and he's got to think about his future, and then the Jets are going to be nervous, and then you know how he works.
No, I don't see a lot of positives for I think the Jets have a very good roster, but I think depth-wise they're hurting, and there's a lot of good teams in the AFC, and I think it really just comes down to that at the end of the day. But okay, well that's 2 in a row that we kind of both agree on.
Yeah.
So that's a big solid. So now we're going to start with my Dolphins hot take. I could have said that the Dolphins have the best defense in the league, but I'll take it back a step and I will say we will have a top 3 defense in the league. I don't even think Jalen Ramsey was the big addition for us this offseason. I think Vic Fangio is. I think Vic Fangio is probably the second best defensive play caller in the league, only behind Bill Belichick or Steve Belichick, whatever that graph was saying. But it'll be tough. And obviously I'm going to speak with if everything goes right for the Dolphins, but Jalen Phillips takes that next step. I think he's going to be a superstar in the league. Christian Wilkins, one of the best defensive tackles in the league, arguably top 5. Zach Seiler, very, very underrated defensive tackle next to him. Emmanuel Ogba's coming back for us. That's just a great depth piece. Bradley Chubb on the other edge. Jerome Baker in the middle. David Long, who we just hired. The linebacker is the weak spot, but I think linebacker with whatever everything else is around it, I think that we can survive. And then we get to the secondary where it's Jalen Ramsey, future Hall of Famer, all-pro cornerback, playing next to Xavier Howard, former all-pro cornerback. Health is the issue with him. He was not healthy last year. He's now covering number 2 wide receivers. I think it's going to go well for him. I'm expecting him to be fully healthy. Obviously, if he isn't fully healthy and it's not the X that we've all known, this is why it's a hot take. And then Javon Holland, future All-Pro in the secondary. I believe that. Brandon Jones coming back from injury. We signed a Sean Elliott. Like we got players in the secondary. We got players, and we have a elite defensive coach coaching them. I think it is very possible that we end up with the best defense. I think top 3 easily. Not easily, but I think it's going to happen.
I don't know. I saw Vic Fangio coach Donald and Ramsey in LA. It was probably more talented. And
no,
it wasn't special. So.
Those defenses were good though. I don't know where you're getting that off, but I mean, well, yeah, I mean that's the thing. I mean, it was Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. I don't really know who else was a part of those, like old Aqib Talib, maybe Leonard Floyd. Yeah, like I don't think Leonard Floyd is better than Bradley Chubb or Sue would have been there. Sue was solid.
Had the safety in his prime that went to Cleveland. Forget. But
John Johnson?
Yes.
Yeah.
They were talented. I just think it's 1 year of a new. We'll see. I mean, it depends how fast the players pick up the system. It depends how the players want to play in that system. It's gonna be Miami's defense is gonna be the make or break for them, because if they played at what they can, so a top 10, top 5 defense, they'll be better than Buffalo, I believe. And if they don't, then they're gonna be fighting for that wild card. So. The defense is the make or break. I think the offense will be fine, even if Tua goes down for, I don't know, if he goes down, I think the offense still can still be viable because of the 2 Ferraris they have on the outside, and the running game will be a lot better, I think, for Miami this year. So the offense will be good. The defense, I don't think they're going to be top 3.
It's a hot take for a reason.
Yeah. Top 10, yeah. I'll just go with my next one because I had a different team written as a top 2 defense.
Okay.
Which is Seattle. I think Seattle is going to be back to the Legion of Boom style defense that they had. The 12s are going to be going crazy, so that's going to help them out even more at home. You look at their secondary, and Devin Witherspoon, him and Christian Gonzalez were the top 2 corners easily in the draft. Seattle picked him at 5. They liked him better. I've seen some of his reps in camp, and he looks smooth. He looks like an NFL caliber cornerback. Jamal Adams coming back. We'll see how that goes. Even if he doesn't play well, Julian Love will just come off the bench and replace him. Tariq Woolen had almost as good of a year as Sauce Gardner. No one likes to talk about it. And then Quandre Diggs. And then their linebackers. Bobby Wagner's back. No one's talking about that either. So him and Jordan Brooks are going to hold it down there. Hopefully, one of the first round picks or second round picks they took at D line pans out, and they can get a solid real edge
Mhm.
rusher. And
Yeah.
I think they're off to the races. No matter what, I think Seattle's floor is a top 10 defense this year.
Yeah, I mean, we can just jump into one of my hot takes with the Seahawks too, because I have the Seahawks as a potential 1 seed for the NFC.
Yeah.
Where, like, again, we're talking about this defense and this secondary with 2 very young corners. They're going to be testing Witherspoon early because Woolen has proven don't fucking throw to him.
Yeah.
Witherspoon can show that he is an NFL corner. Watch out, because I mean, we were just saying we got the 2 young corners. We drafted Kobe Bryant last year too, who was pretty damn good in his own right. Adams coming back from injury, they won't even need him to cover. Just send him off the fucking edge, let him blitz, and do.
Yeah.
That's what he's been doing. He's a blitz boy. Quandre Diggs is probably one of the most underrated safeties in the league. He is very, very good. Getting Julian Love in as a depth piece, fantastic. And yeah, that's just the defense. We can look at the offense and be like, okay, the offensive line, very solid for the first time in like a decade.
Yeah.
Then you got Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf. They just drafted Jackson Smith and Jigba. Kenneth Walker coming back after a phenomenal rookie year. And they just drafted Zach Charbonnet, who killed the Pac-12 this year. Like, that should be one of the better running back duos. It really just all hinges on, is Geno going to be Geno from last year, or is it going to be Geno from the other 10 years we've watched his career? So
I have no reason to believe he's not going to be that guy because, I mean, everything around him got better. The defense got better. It's a team that believes in him. They want him to succeed. They just gave him the money that he's been chasing his whole career.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's just going to take it as in, let's go win a Super Bowl and see if they can do it, because the NFC is really not good this year. Any team that gets hot late can win the NFC. So I mean, the Seahawks are going to be in that. A couple other teams that I'm going to mention one later out of the NFC that I really, really do like. But the Seahawks are another team that can get something done if they put it all together late in the year. And
100%.
I love how they put Witherspoon and Woolen together, because it's two exactly the type of corners that you want, but they're 2 completely different players. I mean, Woolen's the long, rangy, can play zone, can cover down the field, can run. And then Witherspoon's just that dog that comes in, jams you, and talks shit. So it's going to be...
John Schneider and Pete Carroll are building a hell of a fucking team there. And this is coming off, I mean, basically a year to the day when I was calling for them to both be fired. And I don't know why they still have their jobs. And 2 home run drafts later. I mean, the jury's still out on this draft, but fuck, Seattle has been... That's such a quick turnaround. It's crazy.
Russell Wilson, good luck.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole other fucking conversation. Okay, well, I guess we're moving into the top 5 now. And speaking of top 5, I think after this year, Garrett Wilson will be a top 5 receiver in the NFL. Now, that's lofty expectations, especially when you can talk about the top 5 receivers being Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp, Diggs, Jamar Chase. Those are probably the 6 that people would put in the top 5, everyone else's conversation. I think Garrett Wilson's going to have one of those years where he just shows everybody how good he truly fucking is. He was spectacular last year, and he had no one throwing him the ball. He had the corpse of Joe Flacco. He had Zach Wilson, who might be one of the worst NFL quarterbacks I've ever seen, right next to Christian Ponder. And then Mike White, who's a solid backup. He's in Miami now, so I have to say that. But Garrett Wilson put up fucking numbers, and I think with Aaron Rodgers, even if Aaron Rodgers isn't the Aaron Rodgers we all know still, Garrett Wilson might just put up like a 1,500-yard, 10-touchdown season, no problem.
Yeah, I don't know about top 5 receiver. I like Garrett Wilson. That's a lofty hot take. Hopefully it comes true for you. Well, I really don't want it to come true because it's the Jets, but Actually, when you were talking about Garrett Wilson, I was thinking like, is he definitely going to be the best receiver in that class? And you have to think right now he's in the driver's seat because I mean Drake London's going to have
Mhm.
Ritter throwing on the ball,
Yeah.
so we'll see how that goes. Maybe Atlanta knows something I don't. Um, and then I mean Olave looked good, but he looked more of a deep threat last year than a route runner like Garrett Wilson.
And it's like in his quarterback situation should be greatly improved, even though it is just Derek Carr. Derek Carr
Yeah.
is still better than Andy Dalton at the end of the day. But yeah, no, and I almost picked for like my breakout into like that conversation. I think Garrett Wilson, you can make the argument he could be top 5 after this year. I couldn't do it for a guy like George Pickens, who I still have as the best receiver from that draft, but I don't trust Kenny Pickett throwing in the ball. But
Yeah,
that's another conversation.
yeah. We'll see about Tyquan Thornton too this year.
No, no.
uh, all right, my
Keep it
next
moving.
hot take. So I had a crazy one here, but it could happen. So I think for 5 weeks of the season this year, so almost a quarter of a season, Sam Darnold is going to be the best quarterback in the league.
That's a hard one to disagree with, just because how good the Niners offense is as a whole and how good of a offensive play caller Kyle Shanahan is.
Yeah,
My
I'm
only
talking like
my only
highlight reels.
it could happen. I mean, Sam Darnold has the talent. It's just never all there at once.
And the thing is,
My
he
one
almost didn't
counter to
throw.
that
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
The one counter to that is I think Trey Lance isn't going to give him a chance to start. I think that's still Trey Lance's job. Haven't seen anything from him since he's been drafted. Literally haven't seen anything from him since 2019. But I still believe in Trey Lance.
It sounds fishy. It sounds fishy. Every time I read a report out of San Francisco, they're talking it's going to be Purdy, or it's going to be Darnold, or it's going to be Lance.
Yeah.
But I just think if it was Lance, why wouldn't they just come out and say it? I mean, they gave up 3 firsts for him. If it was him, you would just say it. You'd be like, "No, this is our guy." But they haven't. So I think they're going to have a QB competition. And I'm just thinking, Purdy's going to have no training camp.
No.
He might be ready week 1. That's what some people are saying. I don't think he'll be ready week 1.
I don't buy it.
So it's gonna be Trey and Sam Darnold, and I think Sam Darnold right now probably is gonna look a lot better than Trey Lance in training camp because he's had so many with so many different coaches and different teams now. If you look at Sam Darnold last year, he was by far the best quarterback to suit up for the Panthers. I mean, he was the only one that looked like an NFL quarterback. He was actually making plays at the end of the year. He got in a shootout with Tom Brady and almost beat him. I mean, I was watching that game. I remember thinking, like, who the hell is this Sam Darnold? I've never seen this Sam Darnold dropping dimes everywhere, running around. If you put him in San Francisco and they play like 5 bad defenses in a row, I think it's possible we have a situation where Sam Darnold has like 15 touchdowns and 1 interception over the course of those games and has like a ridiculous amount of completions and yards.
It's wild, but it wouldn't shock me because just that's what you expect from any quarterback who's there for the Niners, unless it's fucking Josh Johnson or Brock Purdy with his left arm. Like, that would be insane. Okay, well, since I said that I was going to mention Trevor Lawrence at some point, I have Lawrence cements himself as QB2 going after this year. Like
in the league?
Solely QB2. Pat Mahomes, he's number 1. No one's gonna beat him for QB1. I think Trevor Lawrence is gonna have a borderline MVP year this year. And I think that.
Where do you have Jalen Hurts?
I think Hurts is in my top 5 right now, but I think Allen, Burrow, Hurts, Lamar, Lawrence, Herbert. It's a rotation of wherever you want to put those guys. It's all preference really, but I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be the second best quarterback in the NFL after this year.
No.
I think he is in such a good offensive situation, second year of the system. I'm ready for that big jump that we all thought. I mean, he's generational prospect. It could happen. It could happen. I don't know if it will, but that's why it's a hot take.
I just feel like Trevor is being overhyped right now. I don't think he's done anything in the NFL that deserves to put him in the same sentence as like Justin Herbert, who's had
What the fuck has Justin Herbert done?
Justin Herbert as a rookie threw like 30 touchdowns thrown to like Guyton and behind the worst O-line in the league.
And Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, yeah.
They were always
fucking
hurt.
Terrible.
You know those guys. They don't suit
They're
up for the game.
always hurt. That's just the Chargers. That's how they get used to it. No, I mean, that's the thing. You feel about Lawrence how I feel about Herbert. There's no like
but Herbert
I almost
numbers and to back it up, and his play backs it up. What has Trevor Lawrence done over the course of an entire season that even remotely compares to what Justin Herbert has done?
Trevor Lawrence was very fucking good last year. Obviously, he had his dips, but I think he had way more great games than bad games. I think he had way more good games than bad games.
I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback. I'm just saying
no. I mean, no, of course
he's probably in my mind just on the outside of the top 10.
Ooh.
Well, maybe that's a little low. I'm thinking still Brady is good. I'm still thinking still Brady's there, and like
you still have Jimmy G in your top 10 probably.
Jimmy G might be better than Trevor Lawrence.
Fuck off. That's so bad.
I'm being serious.
No, it's not. No.
I really don't see it with Trevor Lawrence, and I could be totally wrong because he has great games, but to me, Trevor is a good quarterback, and he's on the same level as Jimmy Garoppolo.
Oh, that's fucking insane, Shu. That's insane. Okay, you go with your next take because we got to move on from Trevor Lawrence talk.
Yeah, the Trevor Lawrence talk really gets you.
I mean,
I got
Jimmy
Ravens.
G talk gets to me.
My hot take is that the Ravens will be the best team in the NFL for the regular season. I'm not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl. I don't know, but for the regular season, I think the Ravens will be the number 1 seed. Defense is too good, the offense is too good, and the coaching's too good. What do you think?
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with, especially when you look at them almost beating the Bengals last year if it wasn't for that goal line fumble and then Trey Hendrickson running it all the way back for a touchdown. I think it was Trey Hendrickson. No, it was Sam Hubbard. Yeah. Either way. Like very, very good Ravens defense. Should be arguably even better. Just another year with hopefully the young guys getting better. A guy who I really like, David Ojabo, who didn't play, or he played the back half of last year, but I'm expecting a big jump from him. And then the Ravens finally have an offense for Lamar to like use. OBJ, Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews is obviously still there. I'm forgetting they have Bateman, J.K. Dobbins back healthy, Gus Bus back healthy, the offensive line back healthy. As long as the Ravens stay healthy, I don't know why they can't be the 1 seed. I can also argue that there's a team in the AFC who could get the 1 seed, which is the problem. But it can definitely be the Ravens.
Yeah, and one thing is that's impossible to predict are injuries. And I think if you look at a lot of teams and you say, well, if they get injured here and they get injured here and then they won't be so good. But right now, we're not going to be able to predict which teams get just absolutely slaughtered by injuries, and it happens every year. So
yep.
I think there's definitely going to be one of the big dogs that get screwed. But right now, the Ravens roster is better than any other team in the NFL, I believe. Especially if Lamar gets back to that level he was playing at a few years ago, when he was able to stay healthy for the whole year. And it's the most talented receiving core he's ever had. And finally, he's got a new offensive coordinator, which I think he's been pushing for. Makes sense that he signs his deal after he leaves. So it just adds up. If they can put it together, like every other team, if they can put it together and find something that works and play their role, I think the Baltimore Ravens have a real shot at it this year.
Yeah. Well, to completely counter everything that we just said, my next hot take is the Pittsburgh Steelers win that division.
Oh, I do like the Steelers this year.
So this is like the Steelers are good. The Steelers were a 9-8 team last season with also a shit ton of injuries, a bad line, and now TJ Watt fully back healthy. They've remade the secondary. They brought in Pat Pete. They drafted Joey Porter Jr. Secondary obviously still iffy, but the defense should be very, very good as a whole. Still, the offense, I think their offensive line is now very solid to say the least anyways. I still believe Najee Harris. I mean, George Pickens, Deontay Johnson, Allen Robinson, now the third wide receiver, Pat Freiermuth, and then they just drafted Darnell Washington, who was one of my biggest draft crushes the entire process. Really all just falls on Kenny Pickett's shoulders on whether or not he's the guy. If Kenny Pickett is the guy, there's no reason to believe why the Steelers can't make the playoffs other than the AFC just being a fucking powerhouse conference. But I think there's definitely a world where the Steelers win this division. I think every year, doesn't matter how good or bad any team in the AFC North is, you throw out the record books when those teams play each other, and I think it's anyone's division this year for the AFC North.
Yeah, if the Ravens weren't so good, I would be more on board with that. I do like the Steelers. I think they have a chance of sneaking into the playoffs. I mean, Mike Tomlin's never been under 500, and this definitely isn't the worst roster he's had.
No.
So that's just the reason
Definitely
why
not.
I tend to like the Steelers every year. Is just you can never count them out. I mean, they're always going to have a good defense. They're always going to play hard, and they're always going to win at home. So as long as they got that going for them, and Kenny Pickett isn't an absolute disaster, then they should be right in the mix again this year. And TJ Watt, hopefully he can stay healthy the whole year and get after the quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I say it every fucking episode, but I truly have no idea what's going to happen in the AFC playoffs because there are like two bad teams that I can 100% say that they are bad. And it's the Colts and it's the Texans. And I can't even say that the Texans are either team. I don't think either team is going to be dog shit. So,
well,
we got a couple hot takes
lined up
here.
is related to the Texans.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
yeah, I actually put the Texans to win the AFC South. I mean,
I can see it. That's the bad part. I can see it happening. I can see
So maybe
I
there's
can
only
see
one
any team
bad
winning
team.
that division too. No, I weirdly think that the Colts are going to be decent too, but
no,
but about the Texans.
yeah, honestly, the only reason I put it down is D'Amico Ryans is gonna really help the defense, especially with Will Anderson. I think it's going to be a race between Will Anderson and Christian Gonzalez for the Rookie of the Year on the defensive side. It's going to be a much better coach team with D'Amico Ryans. They're going to have a way more talented quarterback with CJ Stroud. They're going to have a healthy O-line once again. Hopefully they can run the ball with Pierce, and I don't know who the backup is there. Is Pierce even healthy?
They got Motor. They got Devin. They got Devin Single.
There we go.
That's the backup.
Okay, well he can catch passes. Mechie's coming back. A lot of good things are going right for the Texans in probably the worst division in the AFC. No, definitely the worst division in the AFC. I can see something going on where the Texans win 8 games and make the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like that's the thing. The Jags really have to bottom out for them to be like, because I think even if the Jags are bottom, like they bottom out, they're not in contention with the other AFC teams. I think that they're still the favorite, even with all that said. Like, it'll be tough for anyone to compete with the Jags, but I also think that the Jags aren't some invincible team. I look at that defense. I think that defense is very young, has a lot of holes. I mean, I talked about how I think Trevor Lawrence could be the second best quarterback in the NFL after this year. So obviously I like the offense, but there's a lot to like about the Texans. The Texans are definitely moving in the right direction. It's just a matter of will it happen this year? I doubt it, but do I think that the Texans are going to be a easy win on the schedule? Definitely not. I don't think, yeah.
They're going to be much tougher.
It'll be tough. I don't think that there's any real bad teams. Yeah,
and
definitely.
I also think that
and
sorry, I was just going to throw in that I
go. Yeah.
Derek Stingley is going to be a breakout player of the year candidate.
Yeah, I'm expecting a big jump from him after last season. We can stay in the AFC South though, and my next hot take is Anthony Richardson will have a better rookie season than Cam Newton. So when Cam Newton came in, he had one of the better rookie seasons on record. I have it down here. So 60% complete, 4,051 yards, 21 touchdowns, 17 interceptions. Those numbers on paper shouldn't wow you. It's obviously the rushing stats that made that such an incredible rookie season. He had 706 yards rushing, 14 touchdowns on the ground, and he averaged 5.6 yards per carry. So a lot to live up to. I think Cam, that rookie Carolina year, he was throwing to Steve Smith. He had Jonathan Stewart and D'Angelo Williams as a running back, both solid. The offensive line was decent. I think Anthony Richardson is in a better situation than Cam was his rookie year, which is weird to say because I don't like the Colts team really, but I do like Michael Pittman. I think he's solid. Alec Pierce flashed in his moments last year. They drafted Josh Downs, who I did like. I think Jonathan Taylor's got a huge bounce back year. I think that offensive line is still pretty good. And it all just comes down to where I think Anthony Richardson is one of the most special athletes to ever play the quarterback position. And I'm just expecting big things. It's lofty goals, it's lofty expectations, but I think that he can reach them in this. How everything is geared towards offense in the NFL now, I think Anthony Richardson could have a very special year as a rookie.
Yeah, I think he's definitely going to get a lot of rushing touches in the red zone. He's such a huge presence.
Mm-hmm.
He's an extra running back with the ball in his hands. Runs some read options, draws up the middle. He could be bound for a huge year as long as he's able to throw the ball and keep some players out of the box on passing downs and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they're going to be able to just stack the box and blitz him, and he's not going to be able to be accurate with the football downfield, he might have a tough rookie season. So it's going to come down to how well he's able to throw the ball and threaten the defense with his arm, because his legs are there, and he's not going to lose any size.
No, I think it really just comes down to, I mean, on the other side of the coin, I think the Colts could also be the worst team in the NFL this year. So Colts' whole season really just depends on if Anthony Richardson is the guy right off the bat. If he is not the guy, it is going to be a bad year for the Colts. If he is the guy, I think the Colts could maybe win this division. That's probably a hot take, but we'll keep her moving though. I think we got. I only have one hot take left on my list, so
I got 2 more.
I think you got 2
Fire
left
one
then. Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
So I think Mike Vrabel is going to get fired at the end of the year.
Ooh. I hate that. I hate that. I
So
absolutely hate that.
it's no slight at Mike Vrabel. I think Mike Vrabel is a great coach. I think he's going to get hired immediately once he leaves the Titans. But there's been some weird
Mhm.
things going on in that room that I just don't understand. And I feel like the only thing that's explainable is that Vrabel isn't on the same page as the front office, because I know he makes the trades, but I don't know about him and ownership, and something's going on because he was pissed when AJ Brown got traded, like pissed. He didn't know what was going on, and
Well, that's why
that just
John
shows.
Robinson is now fired.
I know, but that just shows that
Yeah.
he wasn't totally on the in just like a couple years ago. Now he's
No,
got more power, right?
definitely not.
And I just think everything's gonna go wrong because the roster is horrible. I think Vrabel's gonna want to win right away. The owner's gonna say, "Hey, why don't we look for a new QB? Why don't we do this? Why don't we do that?" I can just see Vrabel
What
not
do you
wanting to
mean?
leave that organization. They're just so poorly run, and I think that he's gonna either walk away or get fired at the end of the year.
See, I think there's almost no world where he gets fired. Like, I think that I don't even know what the Titans would have to do to have him get fired. I think Mike Vrabel is arguably a top 5 coach in the NFL right now. I think if you look at those Titans rosters over the last few years and what they have done, they should not be in those spots where they were. I mean, they were the 1 seed in the AFC, 2 years ago? 3 years ago now?
Yeah, 2.
Like, yeah, absolutely wild. See, I almost had a hot take going into this where I could see the Titans winning this division. Again, if everyone stays healthy, if everything goes right, a lot of things have to break their way. I could also see the Titans easily picking in the top 5 this year. Like, they have that much discrepancy. I think no way Mike Vrabel gets fired, though. And I will happily bet you that I'll give you 10-1 odds.
I'm not betting it, but
Yeah. No.
it's the hot takes edition, and I
That
just
is-
have a
that is-
sense that the Titans organization is pissing Mike Vrabel off, and there's gonna be some friction, and it might just be the Titans and Vrabel mutually agree to part ways type of thing, but I can see a world where Mike Vrabel is not the coach of the Titans next year.
No. I think it would be tough. But yeah, fuck. If Vrabel isn't the coach of the Titans, that is a team that outlook moving forward
I was
going
on
into
it
like
first,
2024, I guess, would be. All right, my last hot take of the episode. I think that Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier are both going to be 1,000-yard rushers for the Falcons this year. I have been on record where I think Bijan is going to be an absolute killer this year. I've already bet him for Offensive Player of the Year. And Tyler Algier, 1,200-yard running back as a rookie, 5.6 yards per carry. Like, this is a very good Falcons running back room. This is a Falcons team that, I mean, I've been saying it, they're built for 1960s football. They don't have a quarterback who can really move the ball, even though they do have good weapons on the outside. They have a very good offensive line. They're just going to try to run it down your throat. And I see Bijan getting 1,600 yards and Tyler Algier getting 1,100. It's only happened 8 times over the history of the NFL. It happened in 2019 with Lamar and Mark Ingram. And then before that, it was the Panthers with D'Angelo Williams and Jonathan Stewart. It's wild that I mentioned them both twice an episode here, but I absolutely love the Falcons rushing attack. I love the Falcons this year, other than Desmond Ridder. But yeah, I think the Falcons are going to have 2,000-yard backs this year.
The Falcons fumbled so hard by not getting a quarterback this year because their roster would actually be completely set to win that division. Even if they had a mediocre quarterback, they would win the division. I'd put money on that. But I just haven't seen anything from Desmond Ridder to tell me that they're going to be able to compete with the good teams in the league.
No.
I do agree that they're going to have a good rushing attack, but I just hope that they're going to be able to keep these teams from run blitzing and piling up and stopping that run, because if there's no passing game, they're just going to game plan to stop Bijan and Algier. But I mean, they're both great backs, and they're definitely gonna have some fantasy points.
I will add the Falcons last year also did not have a passing attack. So, and I think the running attack got much better this year.
Yeah.
So it'll definitely be interesting. True. You finish it off with your number one hot take.
All right, so my number one hot take is Tyler Algier, Cordarrelle Patterson, and Bijan Robinson all get 1,000 yards next year. No, I'm joking.
That would be
my number
insane.
one hot take is the Detroit Lions will win the NFC and make it to the Super Bowl. And I've been on this since the start of the offseason. I've been saying this is finally the year the Lions break out. And I've been calling for it. I loved what I saw from Jared Goff last year. Did I see a top 5 quarterback? No. Did I see a guy who can get a team to a Super Bowl if they're stacked? Yes, and that's what he is. And I think they're completely stacked on offense. It's, to me, the best offense. Them or Philly in the NFC. I don't know what's going on at quarterback for the Niners, so I can't include them yet. But I mean, you look at the Lions O-line with Sewell and Decker. That's probably one of the best tackle duos in the league. And you got Amon-Ra. You got Jahmyr Gibbs, who's going to be an immediate upgrade in the passing game and running game. And I mean,
it's a weapon.
Yeah. And Jameson Williams in week 7 is going to be back from his gambling suspension. So you'll get that little cherry on top at the end. And I think the defense also, I mean, they're young. They're going to get better. They're just going to keep on getting better. And if they can play at a top 15 level-ish defense, I think the Lions will have no problem making the playoffs this year. They were supposed to make it, and then something else happened. I forget what. They were supposed to play for the playoffs against the Packers, and then for some reason, who won the other game?
It was who got that last wild card spot?
Yeah, I'm trying
because they needed things to break their way, and then someone.
The Bucks played the Cowboys.
It wasn't the Giants, was it?
Yeah, it might have been the Giants. No,
the Giants played the Vikings. Okay.
Yeah, but
3 wild teams.
They were
so it would have been.
They were basically one game out of the playoffs last year. Young team, so they're just gonna have that next step. Campbell another year. Hopefully, he can fire the boys up with his pregame speeches and let the coordinators do their things.
Did the Seahawks make it last year? Was that the team? Sorry.
That might have been it. Yeah.
No, were the Seahawks that last playoff game? Okay. Yeah. Okay. There we go. No, again, it's a hot take for a reason. I do really like the Lions a ton. It's hard to argue with anything they're doing on offense. I think Ben Johnson, their offensive coordinator, will be a head coach this time next year. They're just a really good fucking team. It's a really good fucking team. They're really well coached. That defense got way better this offseason. Like, they signed Cam Sutton. They brought in Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I think Aiden Hutchinson's going to turn into one of the better edge players in the league. They've got a lot to like. Definitely a weird draft this year, but again, I can't knock on who they picked. I really like Jahmyr Gibbs. He's just going to be a weapon for them. Jack Campbell is an athletic fucking freak. and he'll be hopefully their 3-down starter from the start of the year. And then they drafted Brian Branch, who's just a do-it-all guy in the secondary. Will probably play nickel for them, but he can play anywhere like they really need him to. This team has players. It's a very good team. They're probably in one of the – I can't even say that. I was going to say they're probably in one of the weaker divisions in the NFC, not including the NFC South, but all the teams in the NFC North are good. I wouldn't say any of them are like those elite teams that we talk about, but I think the Lions are definitely the cream of the crop for that division anyways. So can definitely happen.
I think the Vikings will be much worse than they were last year. They won a lot of close games, and now their roster got a little weaker on the defensive side.
11 one-score games. Crazy.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
So I also don't really see it with the Bears. I think they're a couple years away. They'll have to improve on offense, and Fields is really hard to block for. I think there was a stat that said Justin Fields was responsible for the highest percentage of his sacks than any other quarterback in the NFL since he entered the league. Don't quote me on that, but I believe that's what I read. So I mean, Fields is gonna have to get the ball.
Machine. Yeah.
Fields is gonna have to get the ball out quick. The offensive line still isn't top notch. The receivers, I mean, DJ Moore is nice, but I just, in general, you just look at the rosters, and the Lions got to be the favorite. They got to be the favorite in that division. And once you get to the playoffs, and you have a high power offense and a defense that's getting better every week. Last year they got better every week, so defense should finally be at that level that you need it to be at. And I see good things for the Lions this year, but they are Detroit, so they might just go 7-10 for no reason.
It could all just fall apart at literally just the drop of a hat. Okay. Well, I think that is enough hot takes for this week. I'll probably think up a couple more up until the season starts. Thank you so much for coming on. It has been a while since I have had a guest. Any more hot takes for the road?
I think I got them all off my chest. We're good.
God. I was really hoping that you were going to have like more, the Patriots are going to be like the division winner, or they're blah, 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 like make the playoffs. And it's like, then I could be like, oh yeah, those are really good hot takes. You're right, because those never happen.
But no, I mean, it's saying the Patriots are going to make the playoffs. I mean, that's the highest likely thing to happen for any team. So, I mean, they've missed what?
Not in 2020, not in the
30
decade,
years.
baby.
It's not a hot take.
God. Yeah. All right, Chu. Well, thank you very much. I will end it here. If you've liked this, please like, share, retweet, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And until next time, peace.